Alrighty, let's go then with the VAILO Adelaide 500 Thursday press conference. We've had one practice session. We've got Chaz Moster on top, and joining him today, we've got Andre Heimgartner and Matt Payne second and third on a wet day here in Adelaide. Chaz, a wet racetrack today. Can you give us a bit of feedback as to what it was like out there? Because it looked pretty dicey for some of the other categories that had a crack.
Yeah, it was real wet out there, Chad. So that's all I can really say. It was pretty cool. It's good to be back here in Adelaide. It's always a fantastic race circuit to race around here. But yet again, 2 years in a row, this is VAILO and everyone and all the sponsors for this event is really stepped up again. So everything looks fantastic. It really feels like we're like a Formula One level and for this weekend. So it's special to be back here. But yeah, track was pretty fun. It was good watching all the other sport categories, trying to see where they're driving around and going around. And then the first couple of laps, you're trying to tighten the belts and you're thinking, wow, yeah, that's got our hands full out here. But it's we'll see what the rest of the weekend's got in store for us.
I'll bring the other fellows straight in on this action. It was Andre who was second, so we'll get into you next. Andre, just your thoughts on the sole practice session today and working through everything that you had to work through, given that the rain arrived a little bit earlier than we probably all expected this week.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be pretty dry today, maybe the last one before we actually raced. So, yeah, a bit of a spanner in the works, but good nonetheless to get some laps. Obviously, the new tyre, none of us have really done any meaningful testing on it. So we ran it at the AGP and it was pretty difficult. You could only get halfway through a lap and then they'd sort of deteriorate. So very different style of track, and I think we've all learned a bit from then too. So, yeah, it was good today, good to get some few laps, and, yeah, they're definitely gripped up, but it'll be more the longevity of them that, everyone will be working on.
You raise a good point there. So with the extra chance of rain happening again tomorrow, the first dry sessions could be as late as Saturday. Is that, from a driver's point of view, just a really difficult prospect to face?
Not really, I don't think so. It's more challenging if it's the other way. Obviously, if you go and dry, then qualifying's wet, you really have to tighten up the belts then and just, have a go. But I think it'll be difficult potentially for people that haven't been here much before. But, yeah, I don't think it'll be too much of a drama.
How much are BJR focusing on Teams Championship this week?
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely a positive for them. I think that potentially it's the highest I've ever finished third. So, yeah, solid 2 cars in the top 10 in the championship at the moment. So, yeah, really great for us. And, yeah, we struggled a little bit towards the end of the year with qualifying and stuff like that. But overall, a great season with lots of positives for us. Okay,
thank you, mate. Matt, feel like you're continuing the good momentum that you started to get going your way from the Gold Coast?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had a pretty good weekend there. We got a 9th and a 4th, and then, yeah, it's been good today to have a solid result again. It's pretty mixed conditions, obviously, as everyone knows, but, yeah, cars seemed to roll out pretty quick and set down a pretty good time straight away, and the track was sort of wet, but it was drying as well, so there wasn't enough rain to keep it at the same sort of conditions, so it was going to just chew up our tyres, but it's it's obviously, like Andre said, it's going to be interesting with those tyres. I think it's a lot different to what last year or the previous year's wet tyre was sort of used to behave. I think now it's going to be a lot of track driven with different pressures and things like that. So it's it's interesting. It changes the game a little bit, but yeah, it's been a good day.
All right, excellent. Well done. I might open it up to the journalists nice and quick today.
How do you guys feel the rest of the weekend will go with a strong practice now? Oh, just all three of you. If you, start with Chaz and then move on, I guess.
What was the question? It was, how do you guys feel about the weekend ahead after a strong practice?
Oh, sorry, mate. I missed the middle part. But I don't know. Yeah, look, who knows what the conditions are going to be like for the rest of the weekend. So obviously, probably the three of us are probably thinking that hopefully the rest of the weekend's wet now since we went all right in a wet practice. But you're saying that it would be really tricky. Even though Andre said going the other way is pretty hard, not having a run on a dry setup to work out where the car is strong or not, and then go into a dry quali would be really tricky. But I don't know, mate. The weather forecast changed 3 times, but you just got to take every session as it comes, and all of us guys deal with what we got at the right time.
I think Chaz pretty much summed it up. Yeah, it's always good to have a strong first session, but yeah, you never know the conditions. So as Chaz said, we always drive and go 100%, whether it's wet or dry. So we'll, fingers crossed the rest of the weekend may be wet. And, even if it's dry, I think it's going to be really good racing around here. So.
Yeah, well, I guess you don't have to panic now. You're not 21st, so it's one of the positives. You get head into tomorrow and just relax and, just try and chip away at the setup and different things.
Thank you very much, boys.
Just further to the tyre, sort of like, Andre or anyone, I mean, there was some concern about the deg and the tyre life of that wet when we ran it at Albert Park. Is there less concern about that based on what you guys have felt today?
I think it definitely will be a thing, so just wait and see. No one's done more than sort of 5-6 laps in that session, I don't think. So, I think it'll be fine if it's a totally wet, stint, but, here often it's drying, you have drying lines, different stuff, so you're going to see a bigger blurred line between, how we used to have the old time when you get down to whatever the time is, a 1:35, then you put, dry tyres on. I think there'll be a bigger crossover to a certain extent because the wets just won't hang on, so there'll be a real fuzzy phase in the race where, it will be pretty dicey on either tyre that you're on, so who knows.
Matt, sorry, I just had a mental blank. Matt, based on how the second half of the year has gone for you, I mean, how excited are you for what 2024 might look like? It's tough for rookies, this championship, but I mean, it's looking pretty promising.
Yeah, obviously, I think we definitely struggled a lot in the middle of the year. We were sort of a little bit unsure on some things that we had in the setup on the car, which I think hindered us for a few rounds. So it's been good to come on strong in the last sort of 5-6 rounds and have some strong results. And it obviously definitely gives me confidence heading into 2024. And I think it gives us a good chance to start the year strong and try and carry it through and hopefully have some really good results.
Do you, being another Kiwi, do you have much to do with Richie before, or are you guys, is it going to be a fairly fresh relationship?
I think I didn't know Richie before I started racing or anything like that. He went to Europe before I was really kind of being competitive in racing, so I never knew him at that stage. But obviously I've followed all of his progress when he was racing. I was always watching the TV at that stage when he was doing really well over in Europe. And yeah, I've sort of spoken to him quite a bit over the last couple of months, and I think we get on really well. So it's going to be a really good year next year, and I think we're both looking forward to it.
And just, Chaz, I mean, the Saturday here last year, obviously very special result. I mean, what would it mean to you to also get, hopefully, another double podium before, the Mossett-Percat sort of relationship, I guess, comes to an end?
Oh, yeah, it's what we're all kind of here for. So it's, I don't know, yeah, last year was pretty special, and the whole event was special, obviously Holden's last one, and to do that with the team. So this year it's been awesome representing Ford, but it's some teams have finally got the tick for the win for their Ford team this year, but unfortunately for me and Nick, we've just been very close plenty of times, but we just haven't been able to win. So I think we're more hungry for the win, more to get our first win for Ford with WAU, more so than looking back at the history. But you're only as good as your last race, and Gold Coast, we were probably opposite to Andre. We had good qualifying speed, but our race car was a little bit tricky. So that's been our focus coming in this weekend, and just take one round at a time. But this event's always awesome. You always want to finish well here because it gives you good hope going into next year. So for us, we're working pretty hard in the background. We'll hopefully see if we've made some improvement this weekend.
Given the relative size of the track we were last at, or you were last at, and this one, how much close running have you done Camaro versus Mustang?
Yeah, what do you want? What kind of answer do you want?
Well, how much close running have you done? I mean, obviously here in the wet, you're not going to be running close behind somebody, but at the Gold Coast, you would have been. I'm just wondering about in terms of how you feel the car performs, in terms of, the new car is supposed to have all that ability to run closer. Did that occur?
Personally, I can't quite comment because even to the same make cars for me, I kind of struggled to those guys at Gold Coast. So, for us, our focus is just purely in our side of our team, trying to do the best job we can and go from there. But there's some other guys that had a pretty good weekend, so maybe they might be able to elaborate.
Yeah, I think like you've probably seen at tracks like the Bend or Bathurst and such, I think the racing's been pretty good. Like I've watched some of the racing back and I was pretty entertained by some of the battles that have gone on through. But to say following's easier, I think following's always hard because you can't obviously see the track in front when you're right behind someone. So I think it definitely has given the ability to actually physically follow someone closer, but the racing's always going to be what it's going to be. So like Chaz said, we're all just working hard and trying to do the best job we can. And sometimes you end up racing people in a race and sometimes you run your own race. So it's, yeah.
He wants to know the difference between the Camaro and the Ford.
Oh, well. Have you got an answer? I think the racing's been pretty good.
We'll find out soon.
Did another procedures check off the back of that practice session. Chaz, how did that go in comparison to what you guys had tried at the Gold Coast?
I don't know about for the other guys, that there was a little bit of a bug with my system, but everything as in activating the 80 kilometres an hour and all that kind of stuff worked quite well. That when you do activate it, the screen looks like quite well, but for some reason the countdown in my car didn't quite work. So this is why we've done it the last round and this round, and they're trying, new little things and how, I don't know, how you write all that code and do all those things. But when it is activated, it works well. I think the idea around it and everything is great. I've raced in other championships which has the same system, and we're probably only category in the world that doesn't quite have a procedure to slow down really quick, especially when someone's in a dangerous spot on the track. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to next year, but the system stuff, I'm sure I'll give my feedback and they'll hopefully tune my car up at least. I don't know if the other guys had the same issue or not.
How'd you go, Andre, with that?
It was all right. I just found it was tricky. You always sort of have the same problem because you're trying to go through a corner that's a 40k corner on a pit lane limiter at 80, approaching it at a totally different speed. So, and then everyone around you trying to go through that corner as fast as you can. So, look, it's if everyone's well controlled, it will be fine. But of course, when everyone's trying to gain as much as they can, I can see there's obviously going to be some, drama with it. But we'll just see how it plays out, I guess.
Chaz, bit of chat about potentially bringing in rules where next year at the Enduros we could see main game drivers starting the races. Any thoughts on that?
Off the record or on the record, Chad?
This is pretty much on the record.
Oh. I'll say my piece. I don't like it. I think it's pretty crazy when you're going to an enduro race, which we all talk about is strategy, and you take an actual strategy element out of the race by who's going to start it, and you tell everyone that you need to start your main drivers, I think is crazy. So it makes it hard to do anything different than everybody else, especially if you're out of the position where you think you are and you've got a better race car and a worse quali car. You just end up doing the same strategy as everybody else, and the racing will be placid. So I think when you see mainies up against coes and you see action, you see moves, it's vice versa. And you really watch co-drivers throw them in the thick of it, and they really step up and show that they still got plenty of fight to be a main driver. It's great for the enduro season. So me personally, I think it's pretty crazy. But we've got some of the best co-drivers in the world, and they're more than capable to do starts, and they've been doing starts for years and years.
I see nodding.
Yeah, but half the fun's when you drive to the grid and you're driving to the grid, but you're not starting, but you're trying to not give it away, and everyone's playing little games, so that's half the fun of it. So if they take that away, it's going to be a bit boring for it, as far as that goes.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I probably agree with Chaz. I think it's nice to see the co-drivers get in and have a crack, and it's like I had Kevin this year, and he was, struggling a little bit in the practices, but in the race he just did an amazing job and stepped right up. So it's cool to see, and it's cool for everyone, and it's good fun. I think the racing is really good between the mix of the two guys. So yeah, I think it's yeah.
Cool. And final one from me, live pit lane order. We know that's happening next year, and your thoughts on that one, Chaz? Doesn't change too much of the game?
I think it's pretty cool, something different. It makes guys try to be more consistent throughout the year. It makes it important for the crew in the pit lane. If we do have a scrape or an accident, we're trying to get cars back out because every point matters. And I think if you really watch, except probably the front couple of teams this year, but that middle pack has been super tight throughout the middle year, back, forth. It gives you something extra to strive for. So I think the the teams championship, other than probably where it ends up the year, obviously means something for the teams. The drivers in it, we probably don't focus on as much as what it is. But if you add that element to it, I'm sure it's going to be an extra thing that's going to be in the back of our mind. And I think it's a good judge of fact of who's making gains and who's slumping in the middle of the year. And as you guys walking up and down the lane, it keeps you guys tested as well. So anything to make your job harder, Chad.
It will indeed keep me on my toes next year. Thank you, guys. Any last questions?
I'll be super quick, boys. I've got 2 final questions. I guess circling back to the co-driver conversation, would you guys like to see the co-drivers potentially have longer stints and have to drive the car for longer just to really test them out?
Oh, absolutely, mate. The less I can do, the better. So, yeah, no, look, it's one of those things, and it just comes back to strategy. They obviously got a minimum laps, but you'll probably see, even through the Enduros, that the superstar co-drivers, they're sometimes knocking on the heels of us, so it really opens your strategy up. So if I go back to me for 2021 Bathurst, you know, I think me and Holzer have actually split the race right in half. So it's when you've got someone that fast, you've got the ability to do it. But some other people, they obviously try to get them out at 61, but that's involves your strategy of the weekend. So I think if you end up starting your main and you're trying to get your co-e in now, if you've got these rules, and you'll just watch everyone do the same thing. So it's you'll probably get them out as soon as possible.
It always depends on your situation, if you've got a good co-driver or what. It's like the live pit lane, you know, we obviously been BJR more down the back and would have been third in pit lane next year, the whole year, but the whole live pit lane thing is going to screw us over a bit. So it depends which way you look at everything, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think having the co-drivers do longer stints is cool, but I'd personally like to get the co-driver race back for Sandown. I think that would be pretty entertaining and good for everyone. I really enjoyed watching that on TV, so I think that would be pretty cool.
And with the weather today, do you have anything to say to the fans that have come out today, and why should more people attend the event over the next 3 days?
Yeah, obviously the wet weather always makes people question if they're going to come out, but I feel like I don't know what normal numbers are here on a Thursday, but you expect a big ramp up tomorrow across the weekend. So yeah, obviously I said the facility's got plenty of seats out there. We didn't see plenty of people in there, but not everyone can get Thursday off as well.
Definitely worth coming out because the racing in the wet's, you know, pretty unpredictable. You don't know who's going to win. You know, we saw Percat win a few years, or in 2016, so anything's possible. So it's almost the best time to come because you'll probably see the most action, you know, we'll have all year, and, you know, don't know who's going to win. So
Cool. Guys, thank you very much. We got through quite a few topics then, and good luck for the weekend.